This video hopefully will address some of the confusion or questions that you had with regards to slope, reading graphs, and some important key pieces of information that you'll need or that you will need or have needed in lesson 10. So let's go ahead and get started. So here's a graph, and you can see right here that I've got a line on the graph and that the x and the y axes are labeled. So what I'm going to do is a couple of quick things is if I take a point here on the line right there, and I'm going to find another point that intersects exactly on the line and on the point right there. Right, so I'm just going to drop those 2 points in. And what I'm going to do is, you know that that's a straight line, and this is going up. And as I look at this, I know if I read the graph from left to right, that this is a positive line. It's positive because it's going up. All right, so now today during algebra, we were talking about calculating slope. And there are a couple of different ways that we can calculate slope. Slope, in other words, is also considered, in my eyes, a rate of change. Is how is something changing over time? All right, so what I've got here is I'm going to show you the first way where I've got rise over run. So I'm going to use my red marker, and I am going to try to connect these 2 green dots on the graph. I'm first going to rise up 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to rise up 4, and then I am going to run till I meet up with the other graph, the other point. I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so I rose 4, I ran 5. Therefore, my slope is rise 4 over my run of 5. That's one way, and this is my slope. Today during algebra, what I said was you can also calculate slope by putting in the ordered pairs. So what is this ordered pair? The first green dot, when x is 0, and the y value is -6. And for the second one, the second dot, I have x is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. X is 5, and -2. Okay, so remember what I said today, that we can have the change in y over the change in x. So because I have 2 points, I've got ordered pairs. Basically, I'm going to label this as being x1, and this is y1, and this is x2, and this is y2. And I want you to remember I can take the difference of my y's, which is y2 minus y1, over my y1 and y2 I did. Now I'm going to do x2, which is 0, minus 5. All right, so now I'm going to do the subtraction. Whoops, I meant to actually type that in as y. x2 minus x1. Now I'm going to substitute in, what did I label as y2? 6, so -6 minus 2 over, I'm going to go 0 minus 5. Now I'm going to do some arithmetic. I'm going to simplify. This is -6 plus 2 over -5. How did I get -5? If I have 0 and I take 5 away, I get -5. How did I get plus 2? Well, these two, adding the opposite. So I'm going to add and take the opposite of -2. Or these two, negative, make a positive. So I'm going to continue. And I've got -4, because -6 plus 2 is negative 4 over negative 5. And remember, a negative divided by a negative gives me a positive. Therefore, my slope is 4/5 right here. And look at, I got the exact same thing. So, again, if I'm given a graph, I'm going to try to use the graph to my advantage by calculating rise over run. Or I can simply use the points on the graph and do what I just did, y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. All right, so let's continue. So let's calculate the slope of this one. And this time I'm just going to use my graph because I find it to be, for me, with less arithmetic. So there's one point that I'm going to label, and I'm actually picking a point that is sitting directly on the line. All right, and so remember, I'm looking for rise over run. So I'm going to change it. I'm going to rise 1, 2, 3. I'm going to rise 3 over. How many did I go over? How many did I run? 1. So my slope is 3 over 1. And anytime I divide anything by 1, I simply get a slope of 3. I'm also going to quickly show you how I could do it using ordered pairs, just as a way, because sometimes we're not given a graph. So I know that that's 0, 2. And I know this one is 1, 5. And I'm going to label these. This is y2. This is x2. This is y1, x1. And it doesn't matter how I label. I just randomly label as long as I'm consistent. So I'm going to go, my slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to continue to work. So I've got 5 minus 2 over x2 is 1 minus 0. 5 minus 2 is 3. And 1 minus 0 is 1. Therefore, look at that. It's 3 over 1, 3. Take a look. 3, 3 over 1. So I'm consistent. All right, let's do another one. Notice, if I look at this, my graph, if I read it from left to right, is going down. So the minute I see going down, it means I've got a negative slope. It's going down. So let's go ahead and quickly find a couple of points on the line. I'm looking. I'm desperately trying to find some points that exactly match up. What I'm looking for is where they cross, right? The actual y-axis, and I'm looking and I don't see anything at all. Wow, so this slope is going to be difficult for me to pick because I'm looking for a point that's going to sit right like that, right on the lines. So I can estimate, I can say that if that's what, 0, 1.5 or 1.5, that's 1.5. And I can come down right here and look at this one. Got 1, 2, 3. So this could be 3, negative 1.5, 1.5. And I could do it that way. So let's see what I get. I'm going to use, because I can't read the graph really easily, I'm going to use ordered pairs. So again, I'm going to go y2. And this is x2. And this is y1. This is x1. All right, so let's go ahead. So I got 1.5 minus 1.5, right, over 0 minus 3, right? So if I look here, so this is plus, right? This becomes plus. So I have 1.5 plus 1.5. This is equal to 3. And then over negative 3, negative 3. So I'm going to look here. What is 3 divided by negative 3? Negative 1. So my slope of this line is negative 1, negative 1. All right, let's look at another one. How about this one? I'd like you to try this one on your own. Use the graph to help you. Okay, so as you can see, I put my 2 dots in. I could have chosen other dots. I could have also chose this one. Doesn't matter. So I chose those 2. Notice my line is going down. I drew an arrow going down. Therefore, I've got a negative slope. So on this case, I'm going to rise up 2 and take a look. This time I'm running in the negative direction. I'm going away. So I'm running negative along the number line, right? If I'm going to the left, I'm going negative. So I'm running negative 8 spaces to this. So I've got positive 2 up and running negative 8. So this is actually, that's my slope. Or I could have simplified 2 over 8 and made it negative 1 over 4. So this or this are both correct. And if I would have used my green, here's my 1, up 1, over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is minus 4, so this would be 1, negative 1/4. All right, so that's a review of slope. Hopefully that kind of solidified some concepts for you. So now let's take a look. What I want to do here is just, again, review. And I want us to put, I want us to solve for y. All right, in this one. So solve for y. All right, so I'm going to go 1.5 is equal to x plus y. Remember, I want to get y out by itself. I'm going to underline it. Therefore, I'm going to subtract x. Therefore, I'm left with that y is equal to 1.5 minus x. So, okay, now let's look at the second one. Well, it's solving for y already. So one of the things I want to point out to you is that we have just, in solving for y, we have it in what is known as slope-intercept form, which is another format for an equation. And I'm hoping you remember this from last year. Our slope-intercept form is y is equal to mx plus b. And the reason why we like to put them in this is that this y is the y value in an x comma y. So these two, you're going to notice, I have an x, I have a y, right? References the coordinate plane, the ordered pair. The m, when it's written this way, helps me state real quickly what the slope is. Okay? The other thing that makes this super helpful is this b gives me a really important piece of information as well. This gives me the y-intercept. This is where the line crosses the y-axis right there. And remember, the y-intercept is always got x is 0, right? And then we would use the y value to state what it is. All right, so when I look here, I know that my y-intercept is 1.5. How do I know that? Well, even though this is written backwards, I can go negative x plus 1.5. I just flipped it around. I put this minus sign in front of the x. And you need to remember there's always that it's a positive 1.5. So here it is right here. So this means my slope, remember, of that negative 1. So this means that the line is going down. Look at all the information I can get from this, from these pieces, from one equation. I know my line is going down. I have a slope of negative 1, and that my y-intercept is 1.5. This is just from reading the equation. All right, So let's now take a look at this second one right here. So remember what I said. I've got y is equal to mx plus b. So my y-intercept is 2. And my slope, this is my slope, is 3. So that means, if you think about it, right, delta, the rise, over the run. Remember, what is the rise? I'm going up 3, and I'm running 1, because 3 over 1 is the same thing as 3. All right, so that's pieces of information that I want. If it's set like this, I can always solve for y. Notice this one was already set for equal y, so I didn't do anything with it. All right, let's take a look at these. So let's just manipulate. Let's solve, what the heck? Let's solve for y on this one. So I'm going to circle or underline my y. So what I'm going to do, the very first thing for this first equation, I'm going to subtract 2x, subtract 2x. When I do that, I have 8y is equal to 16 minus 2x. All right, I'm going to divide everything by 8, everything by 8, everything by 8, which gives me y is equal to 16 divided by 8 is 2. And 2 divided by 8, or I can leave it as 2/8, or I can simplify it to 1/4 x. So note, the way that's written, I can easily rewrite that to be y is equal to negative 1/4 x plus 2. Therefore, I can get some really important pieces of information, right? I can get that my slope is negative 1/4 and my y-intercept is 2. All right, so I got all of that just by manipulating the equation to be y is equal to. All right, let's look at this one. Let's do the exact same thing here on 5y. I'm going to underline the y because I want to get there, right? That's where I want to get y all by itself. So I'm going to add 4x, add 4x. When I add 4x, I get 5y is equal to minus 30 plus 4x. I'm going to divide everything by 5. Everything by 5. Everything by 5. Therefore, I've got y is equal to negative 30 divided by 5 is 6. Plus, and I'm going to leave it as 4 over 5x. So remember, that's my slope. So that would mean I'm going to, if I write it like this, it means I'm going to rise 4 and run 5. All right, that's what it means. All right, now, let's rewrite this. Y is equal to 4/5 x plus 6. Y-intercept is 6. Slope is 4 over 5. All right, here's another one. Let's look at it. X plus 4y, 8 is equal to, right? So again, I'm like, the y is over on the right side. That's okay. Just move it. How am I going to move it? I'm going to subtract 4y, or I'm sorry. Oops, my bad. We got to move the x first, right? Because the 4 and the y, but I want to get y to sit all by itself. So I'm going to subtract x, which leaves me with 8 minus x is equal to 4y. And it doesn't matter which side, right, left. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to divide everything by 4, everything by 4. Therefore, now I'm going to rewrite. I'm going to move the y over. Y is equal to, what is it equal to? What's 8 divided by 4? 2. And what, I've got negative x over 4. Okay, minus x over 4. You can also have written this as y is equal to 2 minus 1 over 4x. Or, again, I want to put x first. Y is equal to negative 1/4 x plus 2. Just like that. All right, phew. All right, everybody, take a breather, right? Stop the video, make sure you got everything down. All right, this next is where we're just going to do some matching. So I want you to take a look. It's asking me 4 questions. So I'm going to look at these graphs, right? I think these are almost the graphs that we were looking at earlier. They could be a little bit different. It says, which graphs have a slope of 3? So again, what I want you to do is turn off the video, and I want you to use the graph to do the rise over the run. And we're looking for it to be a slope of 3. All right, go ahead and do that first. Then, or why don't you calculate the slopes for each one using the graphs? Let's do it that way first. So let's take a look here. I've drawn in the rises and the runs, and I've just picked points on the graphs. So you can see here for graph A, I rose 6 and went over 2. So I wrote it here, rise over run, 6 over 2, which equals to 3. So that has a graph of a slope of 3. So graph A, definitely. Okay, so take a look at graph B. I rose 6 and went over 2. So rise 6, run 2. 6 divided by 2 is also 3. So B. Right? So take a look down here. My rise over run. I want you to take a look at the steepness. Notice that graph A and B are definitely steeper than graph C and D. Take a look. Even though they are not the same graph, they are about the relative, like, they look to be about the same steepness. So on this one, I rose 2 and went over 4. I ran 4. So 2 over 4 is equal to 1/2. And the same thing with graph D. So which graphs have a slope of 1/2? We have graphs C and D. All right, and hopefully that helped you solidify some of the concepts on the previous slides as well. All right, so now let's take a look at y-intercepts. So now remember the y line is this line right here. Here's the y line. Here's the y line. So I'm looking for where does my graph, my line, cross the y-intercept of -1. All right, so I'm going to look at this one. Nope, not for A, not A. Okay, I'm looking for the y line. Oh, right here. Here's -1, right here. So graph B. All right, let's take a look at graph C. Yep, right there, graph C. And this one, graph D, nope. How about -2? -2 has an x-intercept. Ooh, I almost didn't catch that. X-intercept. So on the x line, so now I'm going to draw orange. This is the x, right? X. So where is... So here we go. So let's look for -2 for the x-intercept. So looking at graph number 1A. Right here. Here's -2 right there. This -2, so definitely graph A. All right, for this one, nope, not this one. How about graph C? Nope, that's +2. How about this one? Yep, right there. Graph D. All right, so x-intercept is the x line, y-intercept is the y line. All right, so now we're going to look at graphs and situations. So